What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, and this is part 9 of my ranking Frank Zappa's guitar solos within the context of an album. Meaning, I look at an album, rank the guitar solos on that album, and then I rank the albums based solely on the guitar solos. We're on number 9, and if you're following from a distance, you're wondering why in the world is he doing You Can't Do That on Stage Anymore Volume 4 since he hasn't done 1, 2, or 3. Well, I did all the 88 releases, and I'm now trying to just get all the 88 solos out of the way so that I can do one final video that just addresses 88 solos and sort of put to bed the 88 tour for now until there's a new release. So we have You Can't Do That on Stage Volume 4. There were 10 solos on here. I'm literally just going to talk through each one, rank them from 10 to 1. At the end, I'll put up the list on the screen. Then I'll show you where this album ranks among the other 8. And yes, this is the purple box right here. If you know about the purple box, this release almost matches my shirt. It's almost the same color. I did not do that on purpose, but when I sat down, I realized, hey, we're wearing blue, just like stage 4. So anyways, let's get to these solos, right? Let's do this thing. Number 10 is My Guitar Wants to Kill Your Mama. This is it's from 84. Short, sweet, gets the job done. Kind of a little slightly funky, good energy. Not bad, but it's one of those just quick, get it out of the way, middle of a song solos. So that's My Guitar Wants to Play. Number 10, My Guitar Wants to Kill Your Mama. Number 9, after I get over my utter disdain and disappointment in the arrangement that is the 84 Willie the Pimp, have to admit the solo's not that bad of a solo. Needs to be 7 minutes longer if you ask me. It's a short little thing, but it's really not bad. Got a nice little burst of energy. Manages to sort of salvage the entire horrible arrangement with the horrible electronic drums. It's from 84 also. The horrible drum claps, all that horrible stuff that goes on in this release. But yeah, it's a rough one. But the solo's not that bad. The Willie the Pimp is pretty bad. But again, not too epic, gets the job done, kind of tasty, and saves what is an otherwise just utterly disappointing version of the song, if you ask me. Number 8, and these are the first 3 solos on the album. So the first 3 solos on the album, and I think they are back to back to back as far as the songs. Number 8 is Montana. This is a 73 Montana from the Roxy shows. This has since been released on the Roxy Performances, which have all the Roxy shows. A much better solo than either of the previous 2, I would say. It is that 73 awesome double drummer groove. I just love that sound he uses on this tour. Really, it's your typical Montana from 73. Kind of funky, kind of swinging, kind of fun. A little bit long, kind of gets into it. Not too epic, but really tasty. I think Montanas from 73 and 74 are usually just really, really good, high energy, really good guitar solos. Then we get to like late 74 and we start to get weird and kind of extended. But the 73 ones, always Frank just in the pocket in the best way possible. So a nice little sweet Montana solo from 73. Number 7, we get a big jump in quality at this point. Like we have those first 3 and you're almost like, okay, this volume is not going to be too high in the overall rankings. Then our next solo, we jump up quite a bit. I actually think it might be the actual next solo on the release, guitar solo. Oh no, there's one before it. But it's the Black Page number 2. Kind of dramatic. Frank uses, I think, some effect on it where he gets a really nice echo effect in the beginning where it's almost like it's a call and response with himself. That's pretty nice. For a very brief stint, but it's a very dramatic solo. We're nowhere near the drama of, say, like a Them or Us Black Page from like 82 with that dun, that really dramatic vamp. But the solo is definitely going to like a little more dramatic places, a little more slightly darker, more intense, contemplative type, one of those type solos. I don't think the 84 Black Pages really can compare to those 82 monstrosities, which we've heard a couple on, like You Can't Do That on Stage 5 as a pretty epic one. Them or Us vamp is from those solos from that era, from that tour. But it's a pretty, really good solo. Like, big jump over that Montana solo, a really worthy, very satisfying 84 solo. Also comes from 1984. I do think this set is showing off 84 in a good light. All the solos from here that are from 84 are really good. Number 6, another 84 solo. We get a truck driver divorce. And these truck driver divorces, they're a lot more like sort of spacey and kind of like there's a lot more room for him to explore in. This one, this one I wrote a lot of bending, a lot of noise. There's that sort of like, I feel like he's like sculpting out like sound, but it's like noise sculpting. It's not really a solo as much as it's attempt to paint like some weird little sonic picture where it's not as conversational as I think some of his solos are. There's a kind of playful attitude. Does feel too short. There are some pretty epic truck driver divorce solos that go on quite longer than this. But there's a nice little mix of things going on in this solo. You get that early sort of sculpting out ideas with some noise, and then you kind of ease into a more playful vibe. When it really starts to get some momentum and you feel like maybe he's going to take it even in another direction, it kind of cuts off. But the truck driver divorce solos are kind of also like, I'm trying to think what else. I've compared them to something in the previous video. But it's one of those, it reminds me, another one of those that remind me of kind of a playing in the band vibe, where Frank just has a lot of open air and a lot of open space to kind of explore. And the vamp is a little bit simpler. Tunis and Wackerman aren't really locked into like these really heavy overbearing vamps. So it's like the landscape is a lot more sparse and Frank's able to do things with it and kind of create his own little scene. But yeah, I like it. It's really good. I wish it was longer, but it's another really good 84 guitar solo. Wow, that's already the first 5. Number 6, these top 5, I think, are all just almost like perfect. Number 5 is Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy, another 84. I absolutely love just the sort of the melodic story that is told in this solo. This is one of those where I think I can sing every single note. I can actually just sing the guitar solo as it's being played. Absolutely love it. It's got some very squirrely energy to it. It's just got a great flow throughout the entire song. I like the vamp in 84. I like Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy popped up in like 75 in the Bongo Fury tour, stuck around for a little while in 75. And then like kind of after that, it disappeared for a while. Was in 76 for a short while. But then when it came back at 84, I really think the 84 band did this incredibly well. The vocals with Ike and Ray sound great. I like Frank's guitar solos in here. It just really, really works for me. And this is one of those guitar solos that I think just everything about it just fits perfectly. Frank enters into the solo perfectly, exits out of it perfectly. There's a nice flow in the middle. It's just one of those just really enjoyable creations that Frank had. Carolina Hardcore Ecstasy, my 5. Number 4, The Evil Prince. Another one of those that I think just works perfectly. The song itself is like this Broadway, mock Broadway thing, right? With all these dramatic flourishes and ups and downs. And the solo almost feels like there should be a choreographed dance to it. It feels like every time we come around to like, you know, when the vamp kind of repeats itself, it's like Frank has a new idea or he's doing something different or the dance goes into a different part. And it is another one of those solos where it almost feels like Frank wrote out the solo and like this should be the Evil Prince solo that he plays at every show. It's just like one of those perfect solos. Yeah, it's like a dance. It feels like it's choreographed. There's a lot of just great dramatic, like the ending especially. He plays the G string and he just bends it. And then the vocal, when we go back into it, is hold on to that G string a little while longer. And it's not a G string, but it's like bending that G string. There's a lot of really good Frank bending is the end. And that lead into the vocals where Frank's just like, wow, and just bending that string over and over goes really nicely back into the vocals. And that's one thing Frank did not always do well in 84, was go back into vocals and come out of it, because he had a lot of solos that just felt like standalone pieces. The Evil Prince solo works. The flow from the first half of the song through the solo towards that like kind of little short conclusion. It works so perfectly. And I have to give the solo props for fitting so well, nestling so well inside the framework of the song. But just a really, really fun, enjoyable, very melodic. It just has a very theatrical feel about it. Awesome, awesome solo. amazing. Number 3, Outside Now. So I think a lot of Outside Now solos, there is this sort of almost like the song itself is about sort of suppression, oppression, like, guitar notes are illegal and you're sort of like, I can't wait to be on the outside now, like you're in this jail cell and you're suppressed, and what is it going to feel like when you're on the outside now, right? And there's this sort of like, a lot of the solos have this sort of resignation to them, like, oh, this is horrible, we're suppressed, it's sad. This solo does not have that. This solo is like, we're going to resist. Like, this is like wrong. Let's fight the power. We're going against it. It has a very sort of rebellious attitude about it. Like, whoever, Joe, I know, Joe, you can't wait to be on the outside now, but don't give in. You got to fight. You got to break free if you have to. Get out of here. Buck the system. And that is the attitude that I feel like this one has. There's nothing submissive about it. It's aggressive. It's confrontational. Frank's not going to take this sitting down. Joe shouldn't take this sitting down. You gotta fight the powers. And this is an outside now that like takes that and it's like, no, we're going to fight this. We're not going to let them win. Guitar should be heard everywhere. Everybody pick up a guitar and solo and make it as nasty and ugly as you can. And this is one of those outside now solos. I think this is an 82 solo, if I'm not mistaken. No, this is another 84 solo. Yeah, 84 is bringing it on this release. Like, 84 gets a lot of bad press, and I've given 84 a lot of bad press for like the electronic drums, the arrangements of the songs, the way Frank would like guitar solos would almost feel like standalone pieces, have no connection to the songs. This release highlights the best of the 84, and I think these solos are all pretty fantastic. Number 2, Filthy Habits. This is an 88 solo. This is the reason we're doing this release. And this feels like a Filthy Habits solo. It feels filthy. It has all your standard little Filthy Habit motifs from like from the album version that you want to hear, from like the 76 live versions that you want to hear. It feels like a Filthy Habit song. It just has some nice feedback in the middle where Frank's really exploring that. We go back into the riff a couple times. Oh no, that's something else. That's the next song. But it's a really good, pretty lengthy, pretty nicely developed solo. Frank has taken his time exploring these sort of darker, filthier places. And it just feels like a really good Filthy Habit solos. In fact, it is. Not to give anything away, but when we get to an overview of all the 88 solos and a couple more, this one's going to rank high up there. This is one of the best 88 solos I have come across in all the releases of the 88s I've done so far. This Filthy Habit solo, it is satisfying. It feels filthy. It is Frank in one of his best performances of the 88 tour. Fantastic. And the number 1 solo on here, an absolute metal monstrosity, just this huge, giant, in-your-face monster. It is Stevie Spanking. Yeah, just an amazing, amazing solo. And the funny thing is, you get Steve Vai doing a short little brief solo, then Frank comes in, and Frank's entry into the solo, he just plays this little like skipping little lip, like, oh, I'm here and I'm about to go. And it is so just kind of melodic and lighthearted. And he's like, oh, let me join this party that we're coming to. And then he just takes off. And at the end, Vi comes in and there's almost like this duel and battle type energy. But I'm like, I know that Vi is going to come in at some point and they're going to battle, but like I get like halfway through the solo, I'm like, I don't want Vi to come in. Like Frank has completely already blown the roof off this. And when Vi comes in, all it's going to do is muddy the waters, and I'm going to really have to fight to listen to what Frank is doing. But Frank just absolutely destroys the solo. It is just aggressive. It is what you want in a Stevie Spanking. It is metal. It is amazing. It is just so fantastic. There is just utter like screaming guitar at the end that is just like madness. There's a little funky section in it, but like it's all set up. Like I want to harp on this a little more. When Frank enters it, he just plays this little lick that I'm trying to like find out the best way to voice, but you almost got to hear it for yourself. But it's just like beep, like he just slides into it, and there's a little bit of class to it. Like Stevie Spanking, there's no class to that song, but the beginning of Frank's solo, I don't know, it feels a little classy. You know, it just feels kind of good, and then he just goes off into these funky places and these metal places, and the guitar's just screaming at the end. Then Vi re-enters and it's complete chaos. It is just absolutely phenomenal. In the end, it feels like I wrote bombs dropping. It just feels like they are just dropping these bombs. You know, Vi's just doing everything he can to draw attention to himself because Frank's on the other side of the stage playing the guitar. At this point, I think walking over and staring at him. So Vi's just doing everything he can to make noise and make these bombs. And it's just, it is a pure oral assault in the best way possible. Oh, it is so good. My number one, in 82, Stevie Spanking. So yeah, that right there, that's what they look like in writing. Those are the 10. I think those top 5 are like all-time favorites of mine. Like I can listen to those top 5 over and over again. But that Truck Driver, that Black Page are really, really good and worthy. And those bottom 3 just kind of serve the purpose. You know, they do a good job. They're actually not disappointing, especially that Willie the Pimp. They're like even better than I would ever expect. But yeah, this was a really good release. So where would I put them? I would put them all right there. Yeah, this is a good release, man. It's jumping way up there. Like nothing's ever going to compete with Transfusion. Well, something is eventually. But yeah, it's number 3. Like really, I actually think it got the exact same numerical grade. I'm ranking the solos and then, you know, I have a little system to account for how many and all this stuff. It actually tied with that Mud Club Munich, but it might even be better. But at this point, I'm really new to that Mud Club Munich show at this point, and I really do like, I don't know, I really do like that Mud Club Munich. The playing on that is pretty good. Yeah, those chungas, the pick me, all that kind of stuff is really fantastic. So Logoman is surprisingly really good on that. So I still have Mud Club Munich at 2, but really it's a 2A and a 2B, to be honest with you. Though I'm like, almost want to switch them, but then I'm looking like the Pick Me I'm Clean, that Easy Meat. No, I think this is right. I think this is right. I'm sticking with this. But yeah, that's what I got. Thank you for watching. We got some more 88 coming before we wrap it up, just so you know. So hold on to those 88 horses. Subscribe, like, comment. Let me know what your favorite solo is, all that stuff. You know how comments work, people. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.